Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today we got to talk about AEGISLASH. Now, yes, AEGISLASH is here. Our new all-rounder is finally out, and I played it for about 5 hours just now, so I want to give my first impressions. And let me tell you, I have been so back and forth and left and right with my opinion on this character, but I think I've got it nailed down, at least for now. Again, first impressions. I'm not always right. I'm a person. I'm human just like anybody else. Let's talk about it. So first and foremost, I think this character is phenomenal. I love the design. It does exactly what I thought. When we first saw it, I was like, man, this character looks a little slow. And then I understood how the boosted autos work. And I'm like, you know what? It's like Greninja. It's like these Greninja boosted autos that force dash you into them. And I love it. It is so zippy and wacky and all over the place and can do some cool damage. But let's go ahead and talk about my true opinion of it. I don't think this character is overpowered. I don't think that this character is bad. I think that this character feels very balanced, actually. I think that it feels like it has a place, you can play it, and it feels good. It feels nice and strong. Now, let's talk about the moves. So first we have Sacred Sword. This is AEGISLASH. Sacred Sword makes this character, in my opinion. Now, the rival move to it that you can unlock at level 5 is Shadow Claw. Again, this character is on a 5-7-9 kind of leveling curve. Shadow Claw to me is not bad. I don't hate it. It's got the quirk of being like a damage move that can increase your crit rate whenever you have the plus version and has like a knock-up on the third slash. But I don't really see the full purpose of this move. Like it's considered a dash move, which is kind of ironic because I think Sacred Sword does more mobility. And it's got 2 seconds left on the cooldown, so it's a little bit more spammable in that way, maybe. But I just don't really see the purpose of running this. This ability doesn't have as high of damage scalings that Sacred Sword has, so I think that Sacred Sword just in general has way more damage potential. And Shadow Claw, when you hit with it, you'll get one boosted attack with it, as opposed to Sacred Sword where you could hit like a clump of bees or like a full team and you'll fill your boosted gauge. And also do more damage, and it also scales more. So for me, I look at Shadow Claw and it's just like it's a no-go. It's like, I don't like it. It feels like it plays fine. You can honestly play it and it feels like, yeah, it's pretty cool. But then you look at the benefit of Sacred Sword and it just feels like Sacred Sword's the way to go. Sacred Sword is this big area hit that it covers a large area. You hit a bunch of people, you fill your boosted gauge. It's got great scaling, so you can run certain items that we'll talk about here in a little bit. It's got great scaling, and it feels like this is what makes the character. Now, moving into its defensive side, the shield side, you have Wide Guard or Iron Head. Now, I want to love Wide Guard. I really do, and I don't think it's useless. It's just not Iron Head, so let's talk about it. It's a 9-second buff. Both of these moves are buffs. 9-second buff, and it puts you in this shield form that shoves the enemies, and you can build boosted autos on it. That's what makes me want to love this ability. You can build boosted autos off of using this ability, and it feels like the tanky version of this character, right? Like this is where you're truly you become unstoppable, you're shoving them back, but you kind of like self-CC yourself, meaning crowd control. You just have to sit still and use it and sit there. You can cancel it, but then you're not getting the full benefit. I'm gonna go ahead and read it to you. Wide Guard, has the user focus in place for a short time to create a giant shield on itself. When the Great Shield appears, the boost count increases by 1, and the user shoves opposing Pokemon in front of itself and receives a shield effect. While the Great Shield is present, if the user is attacked by an opposing Pokemon, the boost count increases by 1. If the user is attacked again by a different Pokemon, the boost count further increases by 1. The boost count can increase by a maximum of 2 due to attacks from opposing Pokemon if all of the HP that is gained from the user's shield effect is depleted. Before the Great Shield disappears, the user performs a shoving move. This further increases the boost count by 1 unconditionally. So you can get like 2 to 3 boosted autos off of this move if all of those conditions kind of line up. If you get all of those things done, and then the boosted version or the plus version of this at level 13 reduces the move's cooldown, and it feels and sounds so good, but it's just the lack of mobility that doesn't feel great. I also don't have any information on what the shield is. Like, I don't know if the shield scales off of anything. I don't know if that shield is like substantial enough to warrant running it, but when I played the character, it just kind of felt like you would go in and then you just kind of are there and it doesn't feel good and you kind of die. So I'm not a huge fan of this move just yet. I don't think that Wide Guard is great, but I'm going to give it some time to maybe revisit it. But Iron Head, this is the one that feels good. This is a dash move, essentially. It's a buff, but it's a dash move that shields you, and it increases your boost count by 1. And the good thing about this move is that you can spam Iron Heads to build your boosted gauge. So this move will put you in defensive stance, which is good because you're like much more tanky in this stance. And it allows you to build up your gauge like before a fight, going into a fight, so you can prepare for a fight. And it just gives you more mobility. And it just feels good. You can block and attack with it. It feels good. It really does. So the build for me right now is Sacred Sword and Iron Head. It feels like you have a lot of mobility. You're really in and out. But the thing about this character that I will say is that when you're in, you're in. You can't control your boosted attacks that well. You really can't. Like when you're in, you do your damage, you kind of Iron Guard out or Iron Head out if you can, and then you can try to like heal yourself with an Iron Head boosted attack, because that's what those do. So you have to kind of manage your boosted attacks a little bit, but it doesn't really feel like there's a ton of nuance there. Like there's a little bit of nuance, but not a ton. You want to mostly be in sword stance, it feels like. This is when you're bursting, this is when you're doing damage, and then you'll like jump into Iron Head. You'll jump with your Iron Head, maybe block a move, heal yourself with a boosted auto, and then you want to go back into Sacred Sword and back into slashing around. Now the Unite move feels really solid. It's a really, really simple Unite move. It's an execute. It gives you a shield that scales off your health, and the lower their health is, the more damage you're going to do. So you kind of want to use it to finish somebody off, but honestly, I found myself using it for Buddy Barrier a lot, which we'll go on ahead and talk about the items. So I tried a lot of different items, and this is the beauty of running this character, and the beauty of all-rounders in general is that running items on all-rounders, there's so many items you can run. I'm going to be honest, you can run so many items, but I'm going to tell you 2 items that I think that you should be running. I think that with the boosted autos in this kit critting, I think that you want to consider running a scope lens. I think that it feels good. It feels like it does a bunch of damage, and I need to experiment going a little bit tankier, but I think that this is like your damage item. I really, really like it. Buddy Barrier is almost always a must on most characters. It definitely doesn't feel any different here. Been using the ult to pop the Buddy Barrier, stay in the fight longer, keep myself alive, and also shielding an ally, of course. And the third item, this is where it gets kind of crazy. I played Muscle Band. I think that Focus Band would be a decent option here. I think that Weakness Policy is a solid option. I think that there are so many different items that you can run here, and it just comes down to what are you doing. If you're jungling, you don't want to stack an attack weight. I'm going to tell you right now, you don't want to do it. But if you're top laning, I think that stacking an attack weight could be good. So that means that if you're kind of in solo queue, you might want the score shield, but in 1-1-3 competitive meta, you're going to see a lot of players probably running this character without a score shield, but with an attack weight. I think that personally, I really like Weakness Policy on this character. But why do I like Weakness Policy on this character? Again, Sacred Sword has a 200% attack scaling, so the higher your attack is, which Weakness Policy raises your attack, the more damage you're going to do. But on top of that, Coup de Grace, the ultimate, the Unite move, has a 30% shield scaling to it on your health, 30% max HP shield scaling to it. So Weakness Policy is kind of like the perfect hybrid item that you would want to run. Right now, I'm running Scope, Weakness, and Buddy in the jungle. I think if I was to go in lane, I would do some kind of a stacking build, and maybe also run it with like maybe Weakness, Attack Weight, Buddy if you're doing like 1-1-3 or just trying to get the stacks in. If not, maybe Attack Weight, Score Shield, Buddy, something like that. I think that this character has a lot of versatile item choices. I played a lot with Muscle Band, and it's kind of crazy. I just didn't feel like I needed it. I felt like spamming around with the abilities and the boosted autos, it didn't really feel like I was auto-attacking as much on maybe some other characters. So Muscle Band wasn't feeling great, but with the amount of crits that you can potentially do with this character, I think that Scope Lens was really solid. So my overall thoughts on the character, it's fun. It's really, really fun. It kind of gives me the Serena feels. Like, it's like this weird, like, speedstery all-rounder hybrid. It feels a lot like jumping around and going crazy with Serena. It's got that same very similar interaction to the boosted auto with the melee auto on Greninja, which I love. I love Greninja, one of my favorite characters in the game, and I really, really love it. I don't think it's super crazy going to impact the meta. I think that Lucario just kind of holds the king spot in top lane. I think that Cinderace is kind of holding a pretty strong spot in the jungle, but in solo queue, you can play it for sure. You're going to have a lot of fun with this character. I definitely recommend picking it up. So friends, there you have it. That's my opinion on AEGISLASH. I think that the character feels solid. My current thoughts are Sacred Sword and Ironhead with some versatile item builds. Like I said, all-rounders really do have the potential to run a lot of different things. I may even go into experimenting a little bit more with something like Focus Band on this character too. So just to give it some more versatility, because like I said, once you're in, you're in. You're in, the fight goes on, and you see what happens. So thank you so much for watching this video. Drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're not already for future Unite content. I stream 5 days a week. I post videos every single day. We have an awesome Discord community. There's some awesome links in the description below. So thank you so much, as always, friends. Be sure to be kind to one another. Tell someone that you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.